Hello and welcome to Everything Isaiah, where we'll have a verse-by-verse conversation about Isaiah's prophecy. My name is Paul, and let me introduce you to my co-host, Isaiah.
Shalom. I'm happy to be here. I have been wanting to share my vision with you.
You know, Isaiah, I've been studying your prophecy for 10 years now. There's a ton of stuff here, and I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface.
That is no surprise, my friend. I wrote this prophecy in a special way. There are many layers to it that you must unravel. Do you know how many people have understood it since I wrote it? Not very many.
Wow, that's incredible. You've waited almost 3,000 years to share this message with us. Then let's not waste any more time. Let's dig in.
Haha, I am ready.
Me too. Today we're going to start at the very beginning, the first verse of Isaiah's first chapter. Here is Isaiah 1:1. As we read through this verse, Isaiah will point out some interesting insights, and then we'll dig into them. Just as a note, I'm using my own translation here. I hope you don't mind, Isaiah.
Why would I mind? I wrote this in Hebrew. This is all Greek to me. Or English.
Oh, that's right. Well, I'll read it if you don't mind.
Sure.
The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw regarding Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. That looks pretty straightforward. I'm not sure how much we can pull out of this verse. Isaiah, what would you like to teach us?
I see something right away. Look at these two words here. Do you see something peculiar?
No, not particularly. What do they mean?
You might not see it as an English speaker, but these two words are linked together. Remember, my native tongue is Hebrew. I did not write in your language. When you translate from Hebrew to English, you will lose some valuable information.
How so?
It is simple. There are some Hebrew words that do not have a direct English translation. That is why I pointed out these two words. They are related to the same Hebrew root word, but you would not be able to tell that in English.
I see what you're saying. I've noticed that when I translate, sometimes there are multiple English words I could use for one Hebrew word. Any of those English translations could work, but each one changes the meaning of the sentence, even if only slightly. On the other hand, sometimes there is only one English word that works best for more than one Hebrew word.
That is right. Let me show you some of the Hebrew, and it will make more sense. The Hebrew word for vision is chazon.
Just a quick note for all of our listeners who don't know Hebrew. The H with a dot is a guttural sound made from the back of the throat. Sometimes you'll see it translated as CH. The letter makes the sound that you would hear in speaking the famous composer's name, Sebastian Bach. The apostrophe after the N indicates the emphasis on the syllable, chazon.
Thank you. These words mean a prophecy seen in vision.
So a divine vision or revelation.
Quite right. The Hebrew word for saw comes from the same Hebrew root word as vision. This word is chazah. It means to gaze at something, but to do it through a vision.
Isn't there another word that also means to see? I've come across this word quite a bit, ra'ah.
Yes, that means to see in the most literal sense. This is what I'm talking about. Two Hebrew words that in English are translated the same. But that is not the word that I used. The word I used had a special meaning.
So let's go back to this verse and apply that meaning. We know it was a vision, as you said. Maybe we could write which he saw in vision regarding Judah and Jerusalem. Nice. I guess the lesson we learn here is that you can't take the English translation just at face value.
Oh, that is right.
What else do you see, Isaiah?
That is a great question. Let me see here. Here are two more words that jump out. Yehuda and Yerushalayim. Though I lived in ancient Yerushalayim, when I wrote this vision, I wrote it with someone else in mind. I did not really write it for them, but more for their children and their children's children. My vision was about the future.
But it was still for those who lived in the land of Judah or the city of Jerusalem, right?
Actually, no. And yes, who lived in Jerusalem in my day, Paul?
Well, I suppose it was God's covenant children.
Exactly. Are you one of Jehovah's Covenant children, Paul?
Yes, I believe I am.
I know you are, and many others too, but you do not live in Israel, do you? If I saw you in vision, Paul, and you lived almost 3,000 years after me, how would I send you a special message?
Well, I speak a different language, and I live in a different continent than you. You would have to do it in a very clever way. I suppose you could send a message in a bottle?
Oh, I suppose that would be one way to do it, but it would have to float a long time before it got to you. There is another way, and I think you know what it is. Why don't you explain it?
Okay, I'll do my best. I think you're talking about symbolism. Remember, Isaiah lived a long time ago.
A long time ago.
Yes, indeed. And Isaiah saw a vision of all things that would happen to Israel from the beginning to the end. At least that's what Jesus said.
Yes? Oh, hello, Paul. Did I hear my name?
Oh, hi, Jesus. You surprised me. I was just repeating what you said about Isaiah's prophecies. Didn't you say that he prophesied about everything related to the house of Israel?
Looks like you've been reading your scriptures, Paul. I'm glad to hear that. It's about time.
Very funny.
I did say that to my disciples in ancient America. I said Isaiah touched on all things concerning my people which are of the house of Israel, which consequently also meant he spoke about all things related to the Gentiles.
Thanks, Jesus. You always know exactly what I'm looking for.
You know I'm always here for you. I'll let you take it from here. I've got a few more things I need to get done today, if you can believe that.
Thanks for your help. Wow, what a great guy. So this means that Isaiah wasn't just talking about our ancient ancestors in Judah and Jerusalem. He was also talking about us and to us. He saw you and me in his vision.
That is right, I did.
Isaiah uses symbolism embedded throughout his book as messages to you and me. Most of those symbols represent people or types of people. There's animals like lambs and lions, as you see in this picture, but there's a ton of other animals like those used sacrificially, including rams, bulls, sheep, goats, as well as others like snakes, bats, camels, birds, etc. He used body parts to symbolize people or their actions, such as hands, feet, the head, the heart. He uses the stars, moon, and sun. Colors, primarily red symbolizing sin and white symbolizing purity. Elements such as fire, water, and alloys, like silver and gold. Stones. He uses numbers to illustrate ideas. He uses people such as Hezekiah, Ahaz, David, Cyrus, and others to typify people in the future. He also uses types of people such as kings and princes, the poor and the needy, the widows and the fatherless. He often uses vegetation like grapes, branches, vines, and trees. And finally, he uses cities and nations. That brings us to Judah and Jerusalem. Like the other symbols, they often represent people or types of people. Here is one example. Judah and Jerusalem can represent our current spiritual level as we either ascend or descend. Think of a ladder or staircase that ascends from earth to heaven. Those on the bottom of the staircase represent the basest individuals. For example, Assyria and Babylon represent the most carnal of this earth. Then you see it ascends upward. Egypt and the other nations are still carnal, but above Babylon on a spiritual ascension. Jacob and Israel are the Lord's covenant people, whether they are righteous or not. Judah and Jerusalem can represent those who have made covenants with the Lord. And then Zion is on top, who should represent the pure in heart. Which brings us to another possible meaning. Judah and Jerusalem may represent people who have made a covenant with God.
And how do you make covenants?
Well, there's lots of ways, but one primary method is through baptism. Isaiah made this symbolic link in one of the verses in his book, chapter 48, verse 1.
That is right. I wrote it right here. I said that Israel came forth out of the waters of Yehuda. Wait, there is something missing here.
Well, I think I know what you mean. You should know that in the last 2,800 years, there have been some things taken out of your writings.
What? That is outrageous.
Fortunately, Nephi did preserve some of the words that were missing from your original text.
I am glad he did.
Nephi transcribed almost a quarter of your book in his own writings. Most of it is exactly as we read in the King James Version of the Bible, but there are a few differences. You can see here he kept the original text, which adds the information that you're looking for. He wrote they came out of the waters of Judah, or out of the waters of baptism. Judah and Jerusalem represent those covenant people who have made a covenant with God through baptism. It doesn't mean they keep the covenant, but it does mean that they made it. Finally, Judah and Jerusalem can symbolize the religious center of God's people. Though Isaiah was talking to our ancient forefathers at Jerusalem, he is prophesying of a future covenant people. Do you believe that you are a descendant of the house of Israel? I know I am. Therefore, Isaiah was talking to you and me. Sometimes Judah and Jerusalem represents our nation and our capital cities. It can also represent our churches and church headquarters. I'm sorry, that was a lot.
No, don't worry. It was perfect.
So if we come back to our verse, what I think you're saying, Isaiah, is that you saw something in vision regarding the covenant people of God.
Oh, you got it. I love this. Oh, okay. There is one more thing I see. I listed 4 kings here.
Wait, didn't you live under 5 kings? What about Manasseh? Why did you list only 4?
Oh, there was a 5th. It was not a good experience. Manasseh was a turkey for sure. I don't want to talk about that, but I only listed 4 kings for a different reason. I would love to hear why you think I did that.
Well, I think you're using symbolism through numbers.
Very good. Explain that to me.
Sure. 4 is a very symbolic number throughout Scripture. Here are some possible meanings of the number 4. The first is geographic completeness. You've heard the phrase, the 4 corners of the earth. This comes from Isaiah chapter 11, verse 12. God will gather out the dispersed of Judah from the 4 corners of the earth. This symbolically means from every quadrant of the earth. 4 can also represent God's creation of the earth. The earth was completed by day 4. The sun and moon, light and dark, night and day, stars and firmament, water and earth were all in place by the 4th day. Another possible interpretation is man's relationship with the earth or our temporal nature. This is apparent in the Savior's parable of the sower, where he uses 4 types of soil that receive a seed. It is related to the condition of our hearts, yes, but it is also related to our mortal responsibilities here.
Oh, you have thought about this a lot, haven't you? Your analysis is pretty close. So what do you think this means?
Well, I think it's a combination of a couple of those possibilities. I believe you're talking about how your vision encompasses all that will happen during the reign of mankind on the earth.
That is very clever. How did you come to that?
They're kings, right? Kings represent the rule of nations, and there are 4 of them, suggesting the completion or fullness, especially in an earthly perspective, of God's work.
Amazing! I like that. So, let me see if I understand what you are saying. I'm getting pretty old. My memory is not what it used to be. You are saying this is what I wrote, and this is what you believe I meant. Does that sound right?
Yep, it is. I think it boils down to 2 things. First, what we read in English isn't always what was intended by the Hebrew author. The translator has a lot of power to influence our understanding. And second, understanding symbolism is so important to understanding the deeper layers of your book.
I love it. You keep following the Spirit of Jehovah, and it will fill you with revelation. That is how you'll understand my writings. This is fun.
Thank you, Isaiah. That brings us to the end of our verse, and unfortunately the end of this video. Thanks for joining our conversation. If you enjoyed talking with me and Isaiah, like this video and subscribe for future conversations. Thank you again, Isaiah, for joining us today.
You are welcome. So, may I ask you a question?
Of course. What's your question?
Who have you been talking to all this time?
Oh, all the people that are watching this video.
Where are they? I do not see them.
Well, they're behind the camera.
Seriously, that is amazing. Let me see. Hello, everyone. I still do not see you, but I am glad you came. Oh boy, things have definitely changed since my time.